Welcome to Epilogue Podcast, the show where we discuss some stuff that happened on a different show ages ago which nobody really cares about anymore.
Hi, I'm Portponky.
And I'm LeBloc.
Today we're discussing Deep Space Nine, Season 6, Episode 24, Time's Orphan. Molly O'Brien gets temporarily stranded in the past and returns as a feral teenager.
How do you feel about this one?
Sad, mostly.
It is pretty sad.
I think, certainly for me, I'm guessing you probably feel the same, when the episode opens with the O'Brien family planning something kind of nice, a sort of pleasant picnic. You know it's going to be a rough time.
Oh, it was so bad when O'Brien said, we're never going to be apart again. O'Brien, why would you let those words leave your mouth?
Yeah. It was another rough time for O'Brien. I know you said in the past you didn't want Molly to go through anything horrific, and now it kind of has happened. How did you feel about this one?
I liked the idea more than the execution, especially with the ending, how they hit the reset button. I thought they had the nerve to give us a real downer, but then they fixed everything.
The ending isn't totally clean cut though. There's that little picture she draws, which is the same as the picture the older Molly drew.
Yeah, Jumanji Molly.
Which suggests she had been stranded for a short while or something, I guess. I didn't really know how to take that.
In the beginning, O'Brien says, as I mentioned, we'll never be apart again. But then towards the end of this episode, they're ready to let her go. And there's no discussion about maybe we should go with her and inhabit this place and live with her. Why not do that? Why? Nope, you have to go live by yourself, all without us.
Oh, that's a pretty good idea. But I don't know if O'Brien would leave everything behind. He has a career in Starfleet, and that means a lot to him. He's not gonna just back out of that.
Yeah, what is he gonna fix in an uninhabited place?
The lack of things?
He'll make things that deliberately break down so that he can fix them.
It's good that you bring up the ending, because there was a bunch of endings that were suggested for this before they settled on the one they used.
Oh, what were they thinking about? Did they actually think about... Okay, so several endings went through my head while watching this. I thought they were going to ditch young Molly and keep this older Molly and then assimilate her to Deep Space Nine, and then she would just be... That would be Molly now. And then I thought they would get rid of her entirely. She would go back to her time, and then that was it. The other one was just lost. The younger Molly was lost to time. But anyway, what endings did they have in mind?
Yeah, you've pretty much covered it. The original version of the episode had... it was actually Alexander, Worf's son. And I don't know if he got sent to the past, but he ended up getting killed off. Then when they changed it to Molly, I feel they had this going to the past sort of ending. I don't know for sure if they kept that, but they were thinking of having older Molly stick around. But because it's so close to the end of the season, it would be a fairly large subplot to try and integrate.
That seems like a cop-out. They could have done it.
There's Star Trek, though. It's easy to say that now, but a lot of the continuity they were doing in this show was brave at the time.
That's true.
So they ended up using the reset button ending where young Molly comes back and is possibly only slightly traumatized. I don't know if she was supposed to have been stuck there for a few days or something, or a week or so.
Long enough to have her hair frayed.
Yeah, she was all filthy as well.
She did meet herself, which is pretty messed up. That could have long-term consequences.
Oh, that's par for the course for an O'Brien.
At least she didn't have to see herself die. Although a version of her did die. Molly has technically died.
Hooray! Is that like a cause for a celebration in the O'Brien
Now she's
household?
a real O'Brien. It's a rite of passage to have yourself a version of yourself die.
Yep, that makes sense. It annoyed me to no end when they said, I think it was Keiko said, we'll go back and pull out the younger Molly.
Oh, we don't like this one. Let's get the better one.
Yeah. Well, okay, that's a very harsh way of framing it, but conceptually, the idea is sound, and they all poo-poo it because they already have one. Okay, so my ethical complaint is Bashir says, well, you just delete this one, you'd be erasing this one from history. But by not doing that, you're erasing the other one from history too.
Yep.
Everything a parent does is a choice for their children to make their children's future better. And every
Why
time
does
they make
Bashir get to decide that?
yeah, every time they make these choices, of course they're erasing a potential future. He's just being biased because that one exists in front of him and the other one is not visible in that sort of time frame.
He doesn't want to deal with all the paperwork of having to erase a version of Molly and retrieve another one.
I don't know if Bashir is a stickler for paperwork, considering his medical behavior. In fact, I'm surprised he wasn't up for this idea.
I imagine him saying, let's bring a bunch of versions back and then you could take your pick. Oh, this one's a bit too roughed up. Send her back.
I can see why they rejected this, because the episode would have been 10 minutes long. It's just frustrating that they didn't say, oh, we can't risk doing it because, I don't know, we might lose both of them, or, you know, some reason more than, oh, that would be bad for something. That would be bad for someone that kind of exists for a technical reason.
Well, the first time they do it, they were off by 10 years, so there's no guarantee if they send that Molly back, they'll get the right one the second time.
Well, they don't need to send her back. They just go and pull out another one.
Oh, right, then she'll just fade.
It would be guaranteed to be a younger version of her. That in itself could be an interesting episode if they're pulling out younger and younger versions of Molly trying to get back to the kid version.
What are the versions of Molly doing? Just hanging out?
Well, it wouldn't work from a teenager, but if she started off really old, missing an arm and stuff, you could pull out younger. Yeah, no, maybe that wouldn't be interesting. I don't know.
Somehow her hair still looks fabulous.
Always.
We've neglected the B-plot so far.
The B-plot, which was added because the episode ran 5 minutes short.
Always a good sign for a B-plot when it's shoehorned in.
I'd be tempted to say yes, because this B-plot was really good.
Yeah, it works.
Worf is absolutely distraught when Hiroyoshi bangs his head.
Okay, after that part happens, Bashir comes by, and then he uses a turn of phrase that made me laugh. He says, right as rain. And then I was thinking, is that a dig at Worf because of the incident on Risa?
Oh god, only you would make that connection.
I know it's not, but I like to imagine it is.
I thought Worf was gonna commit seppuku or something. He seemed broken, like actually torn apart inside over what happened. Dax seemed useful in this episode as well.
In what way?
She did science things and was helpful bouncing off Worf for the B-plot. She seemed like part of the crew, helping rather than just hanging about.
Wow, yeah, she was integral to both plots, and she used things that are unique to her. That's not typical.
It only took them 6 seasons. They finally found out how to use her. What did you think of the actress for adult Molly? Or teenager Molly?
She didn't have much to work with. I was bothered by how much they made Molly's speech regress, but you could explain that by saying, "Oh, the chronoton readings disrupted her speech
Uh,
area in her brain."
you don't need to. It's accurate.
Oh, that happens?
Yes, there's key developmental times for learning language, although I think Molly is past those times. I think up to 5 years old, if you don't learn to speak, you never can.
Okay, that makes
But
sense. But she was eloquent before.
she's 8. But that's more than half her life without speaking. And compared to an 8-year-old, an 18-year-old is far more developed neurologically. I don't know the ins and outs, but I've read on the wiki that it's fairly accurate for a feral child.
Well, shame on me.
I don't know. I kind of agree with you, though. It seems extreme. I'm not a child development psychologist sort of person, so I don't know. I thought that the actress had the whole thing pretty well down. She really gave a kind of animalistic performance.
Yeah, she did. There was a good mixture of curiosity and fear.
Like you said, she had very little to work with, having almost no dialogue and not much in the way of sets, just the Deep Space Nine empty rooms and a bit of grass and trees.
When they hand her the doll, what is it, Loopy? I don't remember the name. But when they hand her the doll, I thought she was going to rip the head off to show, hey, this is not going to be easy to get her to remember her past life. But I'm glad they didn't do that. That would be kind of messed up.
It did look like she was about to eat it.
I did like the hoarding of the balls. That was funny. Also, not funny because it makes you think of where her mindset has been in the past 10 years. Oh, here's this thing that I might be able to use. Let me tuck it away.
It reminded me of O'Brien stashing his food after he did his prison sentence in Hard Time.
Oh, I didn't even think of that, but yeah. It was heartbreaking when he's lifting a plate of food, trying to coax his daughter out of a tree who doesn't even recognize him.
Yeah, I felt this one did pull at the heartstrings a little bit, especially considering it's quite a hard sci-fi story, and often they can be a bit sort of technical. They made a whole lot of space for O'Brien to have a horrible time.
I knew the show wouldn't do it because it would be way too sad. But when older Molly is telling younger Molly to go through the portal, I thought, what if they closed it right before she walked through?
That would be horrible. Why would they put that in a show?
That would be the worst thing.
Oh, the worst would be if she was halfway through.
Oh, and they saw her and then it turned off and it was too late to stop.
Oh, okay, yeah. Let's not go there.
Yeah, let's not think about the worst case scenario.
There's a line in this episode which ran the censors wild.
When O'Brien, I think it was O'Brien, said she'll be all right because there's no way. Oh, I don't know what I'm saying. Go ahead.
What? Oh, when O'Brien punches the machine and says bollocks.
Wow, that totally slipped past me.
It's quite a rude word if you're in the UK.
I think that's why it comes off as kind of jokey as an American. I hear it and then I think, oh, whatever. It's just like someone saying, oh, dang, oh, geez.
No, it's worse than that. I wonder if Cole Meany slipped that in because it's quite an Irish sort of word to say, quite an Irish curse word. But yeah, it obviously, I guess when it was airing in the United States, they didn't care. And when it got shown in Europe, it's been censored a number of times, depending on what country and what version of the airing. It's not always censored, but sometimes it is. I think the Sci-Fi Channel censors it.
That doesn't surprise me that it wasn't censored in America. It just doesn't hit the American ears as an expletive.
It's mild anyway, so I don't know why they'd bother censoring it. But that's censors for you. I mean, the show has people getting stabbed in the heart and people exploding and stuff like that. Horrible transporter accidents, but you can't have an Irish guy shouting bollocks and punching a time machine, which, by the way, is the machine with the harvester viruses from Armageddon game when O'Brien and Bashir were thought dead.
So it's been a while for that thing.
Yeah, they must have had it sitting around in some warehouse somewhere.
Someone stumbled upon it. Hey, let's use this. No one will remember that we used this on that episode and then talk about it on a podcast, which don't exist yet.
If only they predicted how fussy and peculiar Star Trek fans could be on the internet, which also barely existed.
How did Star Trek fans cope before the internet?
They invented the internet.
Okay. That's the whole reason it came into being.
I can only presume so.
To grouse about minutia in Star Trek.
Yeah, that's what Usenet was all about. Odo is probably the worst security chief in the world, in the galaxy. I don't know. He does two things in this episode, both of which are deeply troubling.
All I can think of is letting O'Brien go. What are you thinking of?
Well, Molly stabbed someone, and then that guy was filing charges against her. Okay, this is probably not Odo's jurisdiction, but she's clearly not capable, in a mental sense, of understanding what she has done.
Not at all.
Oh, I understand that a lot of the time these things need to go before a judge, even if it's painfully obvious. But the way he was bragging about it, like, yep, she's definitely gonna get locked up for being a criminal. He didn't seem to be sympathetic at all. Like, yeah, no, she's being charged, but don't worry, no one's gonna send her to prison for this. She's clearly very developmentally disabled, basically.
Odo secretly hates Molly.
Okay, well, even little Molly.
Yeah, he's headed in for her. This is his chance.
That would explain why, when O'Brien was seen absconding with a known criminal, he was sort of okay with letting him escape.
Oh, yeah, see? It explains both.
You're going to send her into the past so she's alone for the rest of her life. Yeah, you can go.
Sounds good. Get her out of here.
I did like his comment that he would have expected O'Brien to escape.
Oh, that was really good. His disappointment in O'Brien not being able to flee successfully.
Which is silly because he has done that more than once in the past.
He needs to bat 1,000. He needs to succeed every time.
He did it in Whispers when everyone was against him. He did it in The Assignment, kind of, when he was the saboteur. And probably numerous other times that don't spring to mind. I think Odo was a little bit harsh. He probably should have said something like, yeah, you've got a bit sloppy, come on. You didn't beat your best time for escaping from the station with a known criminal. This show likes time travel episodes.
It does. This is one of many, but it doesn't bother me.
It doesn't?
No, because they're usually pretty good.
Well, it's a classic sci-fi thing. If time can be manipulated, what sort of situations would occur?
And they're striking a nice balance. They are using it a lot, but not so much where I'm annoyed. And they're doing something different every time. It's not simply someone went back in time and changed an event and now things are messed up. They all feel distinct.
Chester the cat made his second appearance.
When was this first?
It was in the episode Honor Among Thieves. The Orion Syndicate gangster Bilby had his... That was Chester. That was his cat.
Oh, right.
Gave the cat to O'Brien.
Which means that cat has its own horrible days.
Is it Chester O'Brien then?
Yes.
I don't want to think about an episode about Chester the cat having a horrible, probably time travel related traumatic experience.
He has to watch himself die 9 times.
Oh, he doesn't get his rite of passage until it happens 9 times. Yeah. That would take weeks in the O'Brien household. Do you have a quote from this episode for us?
I wonder if she realized that the little girl she was looking at was herself.
Probably, because they had the same bracelet.
I've always wondered, obviously there's no way to know, but if you met an older version of yourself, would you feel something? Would you know looking at it? Because you know your own face so well, and even though it's way older, and the difference between an 8-year-old and 18-year-old is those are huge differences. But still, I wonder if there's just something there. I don't know. That's an impossible thing to answer, but I still wonder.
I would bet not, because gut instincts are usually based on things that can happen. And when you put people completely outside of a sort of naturally arising situation, they tend to not have a reaction.
That makes sense. I like your explanation. Why would that wiring be in your brain? Why would we evolve to know when we met our time-traveling self?
Well, if you're an O'Brien, we'll give it a few generations and they might have that reaction.
Okay, and O'Brien might have that. The O'Briens are evolved to pick up on time anomalies.
I don't know if people do know their faces that well. I don't know if I could pick myself out from a lineup of people that look like me.
Yeah, and the version that you know of yourself is the mirrored version. And when you see your own face correctly, it looks strange most of the time, unless you look at it a lot.
Well, if you see it in photos, it's the right way around. If you look in mirrors a lot, then it's mirrored.
Yeah. Presumably, you're not. I don't know. It depends who it is. I look in the mirror more often than I see pictures of myself.
I don't have any mirrors, so I only see photos.
Well, there you go. All these young kids with their selfies, they'll be prepared to meet their time traveling selves.
Will they?
No, because they'll be looking down at their phones and they'll miss the chance.
Wow. Okay, Luddite. Something wrong with mucking about on the internet?
No, I do it all the time.
You know, they said the same thing about comic books and newspapers as well.
What, that people would have their noses in newspapers and miss everything?
Yep.
They probably said the same thing about books, the written word.
Stone tablets. Let's watch the next episode.
Okay. I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, we should do that.
Yes, yeah. I understood what you were agreeing about.
Are you sure? I could
Yes,
go
bye.
over. Okay, bye.